Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. My name's Anna Pirelli. The comments that you see here are my views, beliefs, opinions, and sometimes they are not even my fully formed views, beliefs, and opinions. However, they are my understandings. Please do retain an open mind and reflect on any of the content and your comfort levels. If your views differ, please feel free to leave a comment. Also remember, it is possible to disagree in respectful ways. My way is not necessarily your way and vice versa. You might also find that some of the content on this playlist in regard to spiritual or universal laws, it resonates with you, meaning it feels right to you, while other laws may not feel right or they may not feel comfortable. If this is the case, the information is either not right for you or it is not right for you right now, and it might never be right for you at any given time. It really doesn't matter. As an earthy and practical person, I can put my hand up with all honesty and say that I have at different times had the same feelings about some of the content in here. And with some of them, I still have a level of skepticism within my viewpoints, but I choose to retain an open mind about the things that I don't fully understand for a few reasons. Firstly, because I believe it would be supreme arrogance to think that we all know all of the answers while we have a body. And because what is right for one of us is not necessarily right or suitable for all of us, and I choose to respect the differences. Please do leave your opinions, beliefs. Feel free to argue the points in a respectful way with any of the content on the slides and even my interpretations. And if you feel that you can add clarity around some of the content, we would all love to see it. Thank you. For now, though, let's explore the laws.
All creation is governed by law. The principles that operate in the outer universe, discoverable by scientists, are called natural laws. But there are subtler laws that rule the hidden spiritual planes and the inner realm of consciousness. Contained within these laws, or conditions, is the true nature of matter. Knowledge of these laws has an effect upon the mental urges. Mind is the builder. Stay in full mindfulness of the application of universal law as related to self and to others, and know that in love all life is given, in love all things move. In giving one attains, in giving one acquires. In giving, love becomes the fulfillment of desire, guided and directed in the ways that bring the more perfect knowledge of self as related to the universal, all-powerful, all-guiding, all divine influence in life. Love is life. When we go back, merge with the God source, in some infinitesimal but profound way, we expand the mind of God. Our higher self always points the best and most perfect way, and it is ours to listen and choose or reject what we hear. It does not blame, but patiently tries again to show the perfect way, the loving way. All of creation pushes forth. We are ever becoming. Identity ever remains. Universal Law number 47. The law of knowledge. This law concerns the fact that all knowledge concerns energy, its application, and its use or misuse. Much information is withheld from a person until she or he is a disciple, and still more until he is a pledged initiate. Information is not as necessary to the training of the disciple or initiate as is the proper use of thought energy. That is, full mindfulness. Knowledge is the right apprehension of the laws of energy, of the conservation of force, of the sources of energy, of its qualities, its types, and its vibrations.
So, I find the content of this law to be interesting and even relevant to where I'm at right now today, if you say. It points to an issue that I'm having with myself currently in regard to sharing the content about angelic connection and how to tap into their energy and blessings, because of course we have spoken about karma in the previous laws, and we talk about the responsibility of and personal choices and all of this kind of stuff. So I've had a little bit of an inner battle with myself about how much of this content do I put out there. Should I be putting it out there or should I be holding it back? So basically, this is something that I've been reflecting on in an ongoing way. And last night I reached the conclusion that divine energy can't be misused. If you're coming with this good intent and you apply the law of grace and that kind of thing, then basically the angels are bound by spiritual law. So I don't see that it's a bad thing, or this is the conclusion that I reached, was that it's fine to share the angelic information. How I share the angelic information obviously becomes aligned with this point of use and misuse of information. So I reflected on this as it happens last night about what's appropriate, how much I should share, because sometimes obviously I want to refer to personal experience, and then sometimes I feel that my guides are pulling me back, that what I'm doing is an overshare, and I'm getting energy with this actually as I talk to this. And that basically my understanding is if I overshare information, then it can intrude and impact on another person's experience in negative ways. So there is some information I can't share, and that would be things like, and I have discussed it in the other videos, if I see colours or some of the magical experiences, I can't talk about it. I mean, there is that part of you that goes, well, if I talk about it, it's going to wreak as complete psychotic delusions for the mental health field. But the other part of it is that once you bring something out into the open, like if I said, I'm not going to say what it is. I'm trying to think of a way to actually say this. If I was actually talking to somebody and I said, this is what you do, and I do put up the technique and the strategy for people to be able to access the angels, but if I said, once you've done this exercise, you're going to see X and Y, right? Now, there are common themes for people, because obviously when you're working with many people, they will come back and feed information to you of what happened, which from my perspective as an information sharer, actually really validates my own experiences and convinces me that, the truth of what happens, if you like, on the other side. But anyway, they will come back and confirm to me that X and Y has happened, and I think I'm just always incredulous the way it works. But if I had told them that was what they were going to see or experience before they did that activity, the reality is they will lose you know what it's like. They will have that experience and not believe it, because they'll be able to discredit that amazing miracle and say, well, that was a figment of my imagination. It didn't really happen. I only had that happen because Anna has put that thought into my head before I did the exercise. So that would be misuse of information for me to tell a person what they can expect once they've made the connection, I guess. But appropriate use of information is that connection technique and strategy. I think, well, that's how I relate it. I mean, your thoughts obviously are most welcome. I'd appreciate your comments too. I'm going to go on to the next slide because that bit's a little bit more fascinating for me. So I recall now that when I was first looking at this document all these years ago, that there were certain aspects of it that frustrated me. And I do remember I became increasingly sceptical over time about the content as I wrote it up. And I would imagine that it was probably one of these types of passages that created that raising of eyebrows, shall we say. But 20 years down the track, it makes more sense to me. And I'm talking about my reaction, not the content of the paragraph, right? I've still got a few issues with the content, right? My response is based on the use of words, particularly those of disciple and initiate, because a disciple is a follower of Jesus. So I see that it's very easy to interpret this passage as saying that only Christians will be able to access this knowledge, which clearly I believe, and I'll be straight up about it, is utter BS. As far as a pledged initiate goes, that raises questions for me straight away. Pledging to who? What organisation? The Foundation of Light? A church? Who controls whether or not a person can access information, right? If this is what this paragraph is talking about. And if we're talking about placing limitations upon people in regard to access to information, then I would say that this entire passage or paragraph is fueled with ego, because it reads with superiority of some people being higher or better than others, and I consider that to be judgmental and unloving. To me, the way this paragraph is written, it's very restrictive and it's exclusive. Now, just a note here, I've also worked out, of course, as for those people that have watched many of the laws, where these laws came from in the first place. And I believe this passage goes back to Alice Bailey, okay? And I suspect that she got them from Helena Blavatsky, and she's adapted them to her own way of thinking, because this is often what happens. There's been other people that have taken these laws and adapted them as well. So I might be pointing people in the wrong direction, but at the same time, it might be an interesting exercise for somebody out there who's into this kind of stuff, if they wanted to go and research it all, to look at the 105 universal laws, see if Helena Blavatsky, which I think she did, I think she put it in The Secret Doctrine or something like that. And then I believe Ledbetter and a couple of other authors anyway have written in relation to these laws, all of them. There's another one coming up that I think is an absolute twirler, but we'll get to that one when we get there. So in regard to the law of knowledge, as I've said, I believe it's been constructed in such a way that it deviates from love, and I would interpret it differently and more inclusively to include all people. I would remove the words like disciples and initiates, because, as I said, they're human structures and organisations, potentially even churches or religions. And the primary reason why I would change this is down to personal experience. And so I will share one here with you. I feel I've got approval to do so. I'm reminded of this personal experience when I looked at this particular law in regard to divine knowledge, just in the course of living my life. So within this story, I actually scrutinised myself quite harshly after the fact, and I can recognise that I was ego motivated, despite being well intended, that sometimes they can go hand in hand. And through this experience, the universe taught me in about 5 minutes, if it even took that long, that I needed to let go of my ego in regard to the accumulation of knowledge and the sharing of it. Because where it comes from is a friend who knew absolutely nothing about crystals or angels or anything like that. She wasn't a friend, actually. I didn't even know her when she had her first experiences. She had been blown open overnight to seeing and hearing her guides and witnessing and observing spiritual and angelic activity. Now, we were connected when I happened to be walking through a shopping centre. And as I've walked to the shop in a hurry as usual, another unknown lady to me came out of the shop, one of the shops, as I was walking past, and she walked to me like a rocket after me because I was walking fast, shoved a piece of paper in my hand, and she said, "You need to call this lady, there's a phone number there." And of course I've looked at it, one thinking, who are you? And then I'm thinking, why? It turned out the lady was a psychic, and she said to me, "I have been looking for you and I have been waiting for you." She said, "This lady is desperate, you need to call her. She's been phoning me daily." She said, "And I don't have the answers, but the guides, her guides, we all ended up being friends actually." The psychic said, "My guides are telling me that it was you. I've been waiting for you to come by." She said, "And you're the lady that's got a caller." Oh, and okay, all right. I thought, did the initial resistance as you do, but it seemed to be quite forceful. So I called the lady, never met her at this stage, and we learned that she had, as I said, blown open to communication with her guides overnight. And she was distressed, actually, because she didn't understand what she was seeing, and it was quite overwhelming. So anyway, I felt that I was out of my depth from the get-go, okay? This was at that stage when most of my learning was from textbooks and reading up on chakras and reading up on auras and things like that, and learning about crystals from books. And I'd more recently got angel books and angel cards, but I certainly didn't feel they were my areas of expertise. But anyway, so yes, we'll just nut it back to I felt out of my depth. And then she started explaining to me what she was seeing, and I was able to establish in the course of my physical verbal conversation with her that her guide was basically standing beside her, and she could see the guide like it had a body, except obviously it didn't. And because the guide didn't have a voice box, the guide was trying to communicate with her, but she was struggling to understand. But she wasn't frightened of the guide, if that makes sense. She knew that the guide was benevolent, but she was becoming distressed because she knew that he was trying to talk to her and she was not getting the messages. So where we went with this, okay, is I said, so you can see your guides. All right, so you tell me what it is that's confusing you. I said, no, I will tell you what I understand it to be. I said, and if your guide says I'm right, we'll go back, we'll get the guide to give the thumbs up, thumbs down, or give a, hand waver if I've half got it, which is the way we worked it. Okay, and so she developed really exceptional communication with her guides, probably the best that I've ever seen in anybody, actually. And where my ego came in regard to knowledge was she opened up a shop and she started selling spiritual product, including crystals. And now, from my perspective, I knew this woman knew nothing about crystals. And I said to her, how on earth are you going to answer the customer questions when they ask about crystals? And she said, oh, my guide told me not to worry about it and just to open the shop and buy the crystals. He's telling me which ones I need to buy. So basically, I guess it was like her sitting there looking at a shopping list and going, well, we'll have some aventurine, we'll have some of this. She had no idea what she was ordering, I've got to say. So me being a supportive friend, that's what I thought, went along to help her out in case people asked questions that she couldn't answer. Ego. Anyway, while I was in the shop, some customers walked in and they walked up to the counter with a handful of crystals. I was hovering in the background, ready to jump up and help out. And the customer said, what are these for? And this lady did what she did when she was communicating, and she just sort of like put a finger in her ear and she goes, I don't know. Oh, let me just check with my guide for a moment, right? And I thought, stand back, let her go. And she came forward, she goes, oh, right, okay. She said, yes, look, he says this one's for this and that one's for that. And he says this one will work for what you're looking for, but he said there's a better one over there, right? I was standing there behind the shelves thinking, oh my God, I might as well just go home, right? She really doesn't need me. What was I thinking? Which is true. She didn't need me. What was I thinking? I thought she needed me because I knew stuff she didn't know. What I learned that day was actually we don't need anybody at all to tell us stuff. What we need, if we need anything, is to develop our communication and our connection with our guides and angels to the point that when we need to know something, we can, especially if it's for the benefit of humanity or the people around us, all we really need to do is just have a pure and clear connection to them so that they can give us the information as it's needed. So where I'm going with all of this is my conclusions are that if I was to write this stuff up today, I would change that passage. I would remove the words disciple, initiatives, conditions, and all the rest of it. And it would just be about, yes, the responsible use of information, and that when a person is ready, they will receive the answers. In fact, even when the person asks the questions, they're ready for the answers. When the pupil is ready, the teacher will arrive, and all things will be revealed at the divine time, in the divine place, in the divine way, under grace. That is how I would interpret the law of knowledge. And I'm very open, of course, to hearing what you've got to say. Now, on that note, I'm going to leave you for today, leave you to contemplate and reflect on the law in its original state and how it's been written, whether or not you like my rewrite or if you would put more comments to it, and how my experience sits with you, because that to me actually was one of the miracles of life. This was one of my blessings. Anyway, take care. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.